Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
Kwame Kilpatrick granted clemency. What it means for the former Detroit mayor, what it doesn't mean, as we catch up with some of the people who played a big role in his time in Detroit. Hank?
Peter Carmanis supported Kwame Kilpatrick's fight for freedom, and tonight he's talking about the case against the former mayor and also his next chapter.
The White House under new management tonight following a presidential inauguration marked by messages of hope for a more unified nation.
A man who spent so much of his life in government, it was a moment decades in the making.
After serving in the Senate, then 2 terms as vice president, Joe Biden has been sworn in as the president of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Also sworn in today, of course, his partner in governing, Kamala Harris.
She becomes the first woman of color to serve as vice president of the United States.
That I will well and faithfully discharge. The duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God.
After the oaths, President Biden gave his presidential inaugural address.
With family, congressional leaders, and 3 former presidents looking on, Biden delivered a powerful message of unity and healing.
Today, on this January day, my whole soul is in this, bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation. And I ask every American to join me in this cause. Uniting to fight the foes we face: anger, resentment and hatred, extremism, lawlessness, violence, disease, joblessness, and hopelessness. With unity.
President Biden delivering a message full of positivity, even in a time of great concerns about national security and the coronavirus pandemic.
Governor Whitmer was among several leaders from our state there to take it all in. Some members of Michigan's congressional delegation also taking part. Grant Herms following that part of the story. Grant?
Well, good evening. You know, it's hard to underestimate the swearing in of Vice President Kamala Harris this afternoon. Today, members from Michigan who are in Congress said they wanted to mark this historic day. For Senator Gary Peters, the day was one of celebration. He and Vice President Kamala Harris grew to become close friends. The pair were desk mates in the Senate during their freshman terms.
We got to know each other very, very well. I've gotten to know her husband well. My wife has gotten to know both of them very well. So it was really personal. And when you see a personal friend take the oath of office for the vice presidency, that's pretty special. But then you add on top of that, you had the first Asian American and the first African American woman. So it was historic. So to have a personal friend making history and to be able to witness that firsthand is pretty special.
So help me God.
Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who didn't attend the inauguration out of COVID concerns, said watching Harris take her oath brought her to tears.
No matter the various differences I might have with this administration, at that moment watching the first ever female, first ever Black woman, first ever South Asian woman, and even as myself, a child of immigrant parents, watching that historic moment, I of course teared up, and I don't think there was a dry eye in my house.
Now, switching gears just a little bit, we're here in Lansing tonight. We're watching throughout the day to see if there were protests going to happen for the inauguration or against the inauguration. There were very few people here, more police than anything else. And MSP said earlier this week that they think that they're going to have stepped up security here at the Capitol in Lansing for at least another month. Back to you.
Okay, Grant, thank you. More from today's events in Washington when you join Lester Holt and the nightly news team. That's coming up immediately following this broadcast at 6:30.
Well, all the speculation came true overnight as President Trump granted clemency to former Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick, commuting his sentence on federal corruption charges.
Kilpatrick became mayor of Detroit in 2002 and quickly became a rising star in politics. But in 2008, it was all derailed by the text message scandal leading to charges of perjury, misconduct in office, and obstruction of justice, and ultimately his resignation from office. Kilpatrick ended up spending 99 days in jail.
In 2010, the feds came after Kilpatrick with allegations of corruption involving a pay-to-play scheme and kickbacks, and he was convicted in March of 2013 of fraud and racketeering. Later that year, a judge handing down a sentence of 28 years in federal prison. And that brings us to what happened overnight, the commutation of the rest of that sentence. It means his time behind bars is effectively done for those federal crimes.
But it's not a pardon, and that means he still has to pay more than $4.7 million in restitution. Kilpatrick cannot run for state or local office until the year 2033. Part of what made the Kwame Kilpatrick saga in Detroit so compelling were the people.
People like his Congresswoman mother, his wife, his sons, his loyal father. Aside from family members, other key players like former contractor Bobby Ferguson, charged along with Kilpatrick, seen here arriving in court in 2013. If you look just behind Ferguson, you'll see defender Karen Drew, who's followed this story since the start and now brings us up to speed on those other key players. Karen?
We did reach out to family members of Kwame Kilpatrick today, and we're told they're not going to speak or give any kind of statement until Kilpatrick is released, free, and they agree on what they want to say. Meantime, news of his release has many asking about other people in Kilpatrick's circle. In granting clemency, President Trump called for prison officials to immediately release Kwame Kilpatrick. Those close to him are ecstatic, but not wanting to talk on cameras right now. Over the years, we've seen photos from Kilpatrick's sons posted on social media as they visited their father in prison.
His family waits, so give the mandate to vacate the 28.
Singing.
We've been screaming free Kwame from the very beginning.
His sons even came out with a campaign and song about their father. Established a Free Kwame Project website to raise money to free their dad. Now, at this time, it's unclear how much was raised and where the money will go now that he's free. One thing that is for sure, the former mayor may receive his freedom, but still is responsible to pay his $4.7 million in restitution, according to this clemency grant the defenders obtained. Meantime, Detroiters are having mixed emotions on his release.
They were trying to make an example out of him, so I feel like that's enough.
He was wrong what he done, yeah. But I feel anybody's entitled to a second chance.
When the former mayor is released, he'll be returning to a much different life. That fancy house he used to live in Texas has been sold. According to court records, Kilpatrick filed for divorce back in 2018, then later revealed his divorce from his wife Carlita on his Facebook page. Since then, Carlita moved to the East Coast. Every so often, you see a social media post. This is Carlita with her son Jaleel at his graduation from Indiana State University. Meantime, Christine Beatty, the woman and his chief of staff at the center of the text message scandal, has since moved to Atlanta. According to her LinkedIn account, is a proven leader with expertise in municipal and state government. Kilpatrick's mother, former U.S. Representative Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick, has moved from Detroit to Griffin, Georgia, and has been visiting her son in prison, sharing photos like this one. Meantime, Kilpatrick's co-defendant and friend, Bobby Ferguson, remains locked up for another 10 years. Those in his inner circle saying they want him released next. Since his conviction, Kilpatrick had lost all appeals. The U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear his case. He tried to get a commutation from President Barack Obama, and that was denied. But in the end, it was President Trump who saved the day for the disgraced former mayor. Karen Drew, Local 4 Defenders.
Hey, Karen, thank you. And tonight, a Local 4 exclusive. We're hearing from respected Detroit businessman, philanthropist, and Kwame Kilpatrick supporter, Peter Karmanos.
Speaking out about Kilpatrick's expected release and his hopes for the future, Karmanos sat down with our Hank Winchester. Hank, you know that Pete Karmanos is always willing to speak his mind.
Devin, he's very outspoken, and here's the deal. If you ask Pete Karmanos a straightforward question, you're going to get a straightforward, unfiltered answer. That is just the way it goes with Mr. Karmanos. So today we had a very open, honest conversation about Kwame Kilpatrick, his charges, his time in prison, and also what he hopes for the former mayor for the future.
The sentence is ridiculous.
Peter Karmanos doesn't mince words.
I've just never seen anything like this. 28 years. Guy's got a couple boys he hasn't seen for long time.
Karmanos happy to learn that Kilpatrick will soon be free.
When I see an injustice like that, I'll keep after it.
Karmanos has been a longtime supporter of Kilpatrick, although he says he never met with President Trump or spoke with the president about Kwame Kilpatrick. He did, though, help those that were leading the Kilpatrick charge for freedom. He's spoken with Kilpatrick from prison and knew he was eager to get out.
He's got underlying conditions that would make him very, very vulnerable. All right, and so I think he's naturally worried about that.
As for the federal case against Kwame Kilpatrick, do you feel like he was guilty of those crimes?
What? I don't know. They're the kind of crimes that what did he do?
But federal investigators today referred to the former mayor as a notorious criminal. Karmanos says the time never fit the crime. The focus, he says, should now be on Kilpatrick's future, his life after prison.
I'd like to see him get his life straightened out, and whatever he decides to do, he would be really good at it. He's a very talented, very intelligent man.
And although Karmanos says he never had a direct conversation with President Trump about Kwame Kilpatrick, he does say that he wrote letters, that he was part of a letter-writing campaign with many others, putting together documents. And Pete says that he knew the right people in Washington to review all of that information. So while he was not leading the charge, he's obviously instrumental in helping Kwame Kilpatrick get it to this point today. We're live here tonight. Hank Winchester, back to you.
All right, Hank, and our coverage of the Kilpatrick commutation continues over on clickondetroit.com. Right now you can read Paula Tutman's blog about Kwame's rise and fall. Also Hank and Karen jumping on Zoom to reflect on what it was like to cover it all. And if you've never seen the two of them chatting about anything, you know that that is worth a look, so check it out.
Detroit police say an 18-month-old boy found a loaded gun and shot his 5-year-old cousin. The shooting happened this morning at a home on Sturtevant Street on the city's northwest side. Investigators believe the 18-month-old got a hold of the gun and accidentally shot the child in the neck. The 5-year-old later died at the hospital. The father of the 5-year-old has been arrested. He's the uncle of the little boy who police say pulled the trigger, that 18-month-old. No word yet on possible charges.
Let's move now to the coronavirus and today's numbers and an update from the state on some of the key trends that it's been watching. Michigan reporting 2,031 new cases and 40 new deaths over the past 24 hours. State says the numbers are improving as a percent of positive tests and hospitalizations have both decreased and the case numbers have leveled off.
All right, we're not forgetting about Ben or how cold it is out there today.
Hey there, Ben.
How could you guys? Yeah, this is the first below average day we've had all year. But the good news is temperatures rising during the evening. We'll tell you what that does for us tomorrow. Coming up.
What the voices of the future have to say about their future now that there is a new president in the White House. We'll take you to our first ever student roundtable and watch party.